Good morning.
Good morning.
I am the Reverend Lisa Bovey-Kemper. My pronouns are she and her. I'm the interim minister of this congregation. In this community, challenged by our liberating faith, we discover deeper spiritual meaning, nurture loving community, cultivate courageous connections, and partner in the work of justice. Welcome to each and every one of you here in person or on the live stream. I am waving at you and everyone else is waving at you in spirit, even though you can't see them. We're pleased to have guests and newcomers among us in both places. I encourage you, if you are interested in learning more about this community or getting connected, to reach out to our Director of Member Relations, Kelly Green. Her email and her photo are on the screen. We have large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and an elevator available. There's also a hearing loop in our alternate worship space, the Bernstein Room. We have coloring pages and fidgets for all ages in the vestibule if that is useful to you or your children. This morning, our children and youth and their teachers will be with us for the first 15 minutes, and then we will sing them to their classes. During this morning's announcements, I should say, we will be singing the song "Everything Possible." It was written some 40 years ago by my friend and colleague, the Reverend Fred Small. Fred was a Unitarian Universalist parish minister for nearly 20 years, serving in a couple of different congregations in Massachusetts. In 2015, he left parish ministry to devote his energies to organizing for environmental, racial, and social justice. Fred is a wonderful performer and singer-songwriter and minister. And as I have told Fred a number of times as we've been planning for this, the song "Everything Possible" was absolutely formative for me as a young UU kid, even though I grew up in very accepting, liberal places. The song "Everything Possible" told me a story that I had not heard before. And so it has been updated for gender and inclusion in the last couple of years, and we have this lovely picture book that Fred collaborated with illustrator Allison Brown. These books will be for sale and available for autograph after the service, and so we hope that you will join us after the service for coffee and also to meet Fred and purchase a book. Also this afternoon, if you have friends or grandchildren or children who couldn't be here this morning, UUCC and Gender Education Network are collaborating on an event, singing and book signing event at 3:30 this afternoon in Freeman Hall, so all are welcome to that. Fred Small's classic lullaby of unconditional love and inclusion, "Everything Possible." It's a wonderful gift for the children and former children in your life, and as I've said, Fred will be glad to inscribe your copy. If you're joining us remotely this morning, you can find "Everything Possible" at your local bookstore or online at nosycrow.us. That's a good, easy website to remember. I also want to let you know that this Saturday we will host the 15th annual Luna Rising Festival. Luna Rising is a multi-generational celebration of the divine feminine in all of us and offers a variety of workshops that encourage community, connection, and creativity. It's open to everyone ages 7 and up, and participants are encouraged to donate hygiene products like shampoo and toothpaste to support Compassion Closet, one of our intersectional justice community partners. Registration closes on Wednesday. So if you have been thinking about coming but haven't clicked that link and registered, it's really helpful if you register ahead so that we know how many people to expect. Again, a warm welcome to each and every one of you, whether you are here in person or joining via live stream, whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday among us. We are stronger because you are here. We are one people of many beliefs, origins, identities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. It is good to be together. And now I invite you to take a deep breath and settle in as our service begins.
Light within all light. Soul behind all souls. At the break of dawn, at the coming of day. We wait and watch. Your light within the morning light. Your soul within the human soul. Your presence beckoning to us from the heart of life. In the dawning of this day, let us know fresh shinings in our soul, in the growing colors of new beginning all around us. Let us know the first lights of our heart. Great star of the morning, inner flame of the universe, let us be a color in this new dawning. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, day's a breaking in my soul. That's your part. Please rise in body or in spirit and sing this song, Bright Morning Star Arising. This began as a beautiful, kind of sleepy Appalachian hymn. Many of you may know it. It's in our hymnal. Bright morning stars arising. Very beautiful. Court Dorsey took it to the Seabrook nuclear power protests some decades back, kicked it up a notch, turned it into a kind of a movement anthem, and then I added a bunch of verses because I'm a folk singer, and that's what we do. Bright morning star, give it a try. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, day's a breaking in my soul. There's some wonderful harmonies to be found in this song. The choir isn't here today, so find some harmonies and I love what Pete Seeger used to say about harmony. He said, don't be afraid of harmony. Harmony is any note that your neighbor isn't singing. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Days of breaking in my soul for justice and compassion. For justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion. Days of breaking in my soul for peace in every nation. For peace in every nation, for peace in every nation, for peace in every nation. Days of breaking in my soul for the healing of creation. For the healing of creation, for the healing of creation, for the healing of creation. Days of breaking in my soul for the future of our children. For the future of our children, for the future of our children, for the future of our children. Days of breaking in my soul. Last time, bright morning star. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Days of breaking in my soul. Beautiful singing. Have a seat.
My apologies. That's okay. You're fine. You can leave it if you want. Oh, you don't. Okay. If you would rise again, I'd appreciate it. I didn't move quite quickly enough. Our chalice lighting this morning by Adrian Rich. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. This morning, we light our chalice for that perseverance, that extraordinary power, and for the ways that we connect and drive that change in this community.
Sometimes the time for all ages is a story, sometimes it's a conversation, and sometimes it's a song. And sometimes it's retuning. Strings are a lot like people. They're always changing. But when they stop changing, they're dead. We have cleared off the table, the leftovers saved, washed the dishes and put them away. I have told you a story and tucked you in tight at the end of your knockabout day. As the moon sets its sails to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea, I will sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you good company. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. I'm going to teach that chorus to you, and I'm afraid that may confuse the tech people because they're going to go to the top of the chorus again. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. That's a lot more words than Bright Morning Star Arising, but I will give you cues, and besides, you have the words. You can read them. Anyway, I'll be teaching them to you at the same time. You can be anybody you want to be. Give it a try. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country. You can travel any country where your heart, and know I will love, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends. You can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. Some children grow up strong and bold, while some are quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some take it slow, some go in their own way and time. Some women love women, some men love men, some leave every label behind. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything possible you'll find. Don't be rattled by names, by taunts, by games, but seek out spirits true. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country. You can travel any country where your heart beats, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can live but you can gather friends. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. The love you leave behind when you're done. Thank you for coming.
Mama got a little weepy. You know, when you sing, it happened when I sang Puff the Magic Dragon to my kids for the first time. You know how it goes. Jackie Paper grows up, whatever. If the children and youth and their teachers will get ready to go to their classes, we will sing you out.
The reading is by Joy Harjo, member of the Muskogee Creek Nation and United States Poet Laureate. Once I traveled far above the earth. This beloved planet we call home was covered with an elastic web of light. I watched in awe as it shimmered, stretched, dimmed, and shined, shaped by the collective effort of all life within it. Dissonance attracted more dissonance. Harmony attracted harmony. I saw revolutions, droughts, famines, and the births of new nations. The most humble kindnesses made the brightest lights. Nothing was wasted. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The tide is rising, and so are we. Speaking of which, please rise in body or in spirit. The Tide is Rising, written by Rabbi Shoshona Meira Friedman and her husband Yotam Shepherd. The tide is rising, give it a try. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called. The land is holy. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called. The storm is raging. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called. The sun is shining. The sun is shining. Sun is shining. Sun is shining. So are we. The sun is shining. So are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called. The world is ready. The world is ready, and so are we. 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 The world is ready, and so this is where we are called to be. This is where we are called. Last time the tide is rising. The tide is rising. Tide is rising. Tide is rising. So are we. The tide is rising. So are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. Fabulous singing. Thank you so much. Gosh, it's time for the sermon. Time flies when you're having fun. I knew a man once who tried to save a tree. It was a magnificent red oak planted in the 19th century. Through numberless winters and springs and summers and autumns, its roots had penetrated deep into the soil, and its trunk had grown tall and strong. Generations of families and friends and lovers had gathered gratefully in the shade of its broad canopy. And the man loved the tree and held it sacred. But the tree grew close to a building. And one day the owners of the building decreed that the building would be improved and expanded. The tree would have to be cut down, they said. And so the man who loved the tree wrote letters and social media posts to try and change their minds. He organized others and enrolled political leaders in his cause. Save the tree, they cried. The owners were unmoved. It's true, they said, the tree is old and beautiful, but it's actually not in very good health. It will die soon anyway. Besides, they said, we have no choice. We've examined every alternative and none is practical. within our budget. The tree must go. Outraged, the man assailed their motives and their integrity. His letters and posts grew more acerbic and sarcastic. At last, his belligerence and ill temper drove away even people who also cared about the tree and might have helped save it. And so the tree was cut down. And all who saw its severed limbs couldn't help noticing how healthy they looked. And the man cursed the owners for their stupidity and short-sightedness. This good man who loved trees so profoundly and so passionately had not learned from them. His feverish, frenetic activism was nothing at all like a tree. He championed the sacredness of trees while neglecting the sacredness of human beings, including his own. He knew the worth of trees, but not the peace of trees. Don't we all make the same mistake, at least some of the time? I know I do. More than half a century ago, the Trappist monk and peace activist Thomas Merton warned, there is a pervasive form of contemporary violence to which the idealist most easily succumbs. Activism and overwork, the rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to be surrounded by too many demands, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone in everything, is to succumb to violence. The frenzy of our activism, Merton said, neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our own inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our own work because it kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful. The frenzy of our activism destroys our inner capacity for peace and the fruitfulness of our work. Actually, Thomas Merton was lucky. He died before Twitter. Twitter, now technically X. Twitter, that twilight zone of snark, contempt, occasional inspiration, and permanent outrage, where I, for one, have wasted far too much of my time. It's easy to be punitive and make others disposable. Caution Tom DeWolf and Jody Geddes in the Little Book of Racial Healing. The difficult task, they say, is in telling the truth in ways that seek healing and transformation. We are beset today by a host of daunting challenges, all of them urgent and interconnected, many seemingly intractable, from patriarchy to white supremacy, from public corruption to secret abuse, from anti-Semitism to Islamophobia to transphobia, from gun violence to armed insurrection to all-out war, from mass incarceration to mass extinction. It is natural for us to feel grief, anger, fear, and despair. I am a climate justice activist, not exclusively, but primarily. Despair is my constant companion. By now, it's almost an old friend. It seems every new report coming from the scientists is even more depressing and alarming than the last. As Lily Tomlin once observed, things are going to get worse before they get worse. The realization that it is too late to prevent significant global warming, too late even to prevent fast suffering, has had a surprising effect on me. Instead of making me more anxious and agitated, somehow it has calmed and steadied me. For decades, as a climate activist, I felt like I was in a rowboat above a thundering waterfall, rowing frantically to keep from going over the falls. Well, the boat is going over the falls. We are plummeting, tumbling, crashing into the unknown at vertiginous speed, and yet somehow at the same time in slow motion. Terrible things are happening. Terrible things will happen. Millions, I believe, will suffer and die, with the worst impacts upon those least responsible for the problem, people of color and people living in poverty all around the world. But it is never too late to save the next life, or the next community, or the next species. It is never too late to feed the hungry or welcome the stranger. It is never too late to do the next right thing. I vow to do all I can to reduce the suffering, to tend to the wounded, and to build a more just world. But since I believe it is too late to head off catastrophe, I am resolved to do these things mindfully, with love and compassion and tenderness and generosity of spirit. Because given the certainty of suffering, the how of what we do is as important as the what, or even the when. As we plunge headlong into the maelstrom, even more important than the question, what am I going to do, is the question, who am I going to be? Our climate future is not binary. Everything's going to be wonderful. Everything's going to be awful. Ecotopia, dystopia. The future will almost certainly have elements of both. And where the balance between them falls will depend upon an infinite number of choices, my choices and your choices and the choices of our children and their children and their children. We don't know what's gonna happen. I hope that the human species survives the crisis that we have created, but whether or not we do, we know that life on Earth has already survived 5 major extinctions. Life will endure, and intelligent life will continue to evolve with luck and the grace of God, not only smarter, but also wiser, kinder, and more compassionate. As we confront this crisis, Potawatomi botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer reminds us we don't have to figure out everything by ourselves. There are intelligences all around us, other than our own teachers, all around us. If we understood that, imagine how less lonely the world would be. So, as we struggle to save our trees, what can we learn from that? First of all, hydrate. Another thing we can learn is patience. When we're in mortal danger, patience can be hard to cultivate. Trees can help us. Trees take the long view. They have to. Many live hundreds, even thousands of years. And longevity counsels patience. By patience, explains Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron, we do not mean enduring, grin and bear it. In any situation, instead of reacting suddenly, we could chew it, smell it, look at it, and open ourselves to see it, what's there. The journey of patience, Chodron teaches, involves relaxing, opening to what is happening, experiencing a sense of wonder. To be patient means to slow down. On an exposed cliffside in the Canadian Great Lakes is a white cedar that's taken 155 years to reach the towering height of 4 inches. That's taking it slow. Even when a tree is under threat, it responds slowly. When a caterpillar begins to chew on an oak leaf, it can take an hour before defensive compounds reach the leaf to repel the pest. The hectic pace of humans takes a toll on our activism, our relationships, and our souls. We can be peaceful in our fervor, insists Charles Eisenstein, and patient in our urgency. If your religion doesn't honor paradox, find a new religion. In a society hyped up on hyper-individualism, trees remind us of the interdependence of all beings. Seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism. Far from the solitaries they may appear, trees are deeply embedded and active in a community of interconnection, which forest ecologists sometimes playfully call the Wood Wide Web. Whether by interlacing root systems, fungal networks, or release of chemical scents, trees warn each other of predators and harmful insects. They can even share nutrients with each other. According to ecologist and Tsimshian native Dr. Teresa Ryan, when a tree in a warming forest dies, it donates its carbon not to its own offspring or even to others of the same species, but to the newest arrivals in the forest, those most likely to survive as temperatures increase. A bequest of generosity akin to altruism. Trees model for us the power of commitment, of choosing to be rooted in one place. When a seed takes root, it makes a lifelong commitment to that very spot. There it must adapt or die. Now, our commitments need not be absolute, but they call us to strive and to struggle, to honor our relationships, honor our communities, honor our principles. Commitment demands persistence. Trees persist through high winds, torrential rains, heavy snowstorms that bend their branches, and ice storms that break them. If you've ever seen a tree clinging to seemingly naked rock, its root tips stretching to every particle of soil, sucking in the tiniest droplet of moisture, you know what persistence looks like. Trees teach us to live with loss. Every fall, deciduous trees surrender their leaves to the forest floor, enriching the soil not only for themselves, but for all who share their ecosystem. And trees endure the deaths of their companions from wind, fire, storms, disease, logging, and old age. Trees embody the perfection of imperfection. Admiring an old maple in Connecticut one time, I was struck by its sinuous beauty, and looking more deeply, I realized its beauty lay precisely in its irregularity, its imperfection. Had it been perfectly straight, perfectly uniform, perfectly symmetrical, it would have been grotesque. Only human beings make things that way. God knows better. Maybe I too could accept my imperfections as a mark of beauty. We teach what we most need to learn. When I spend time with trees, I sense their humility, their kindness, their love. I used to think it was anthropomorphic to ascribe human attributes to non-human beings, but I no longer think so. Actually, now I think it's anthropocentric to think so. We're all sentient beings. We know that plants feel pain and distress. Why shouldn't trees, in their own way, feel love? If you doubt that, I invite you to spend more time with trees, touching their bark, gazing up at their leaves, and just listening. Trees have been among my wisest and most reliable teachers. As a child, Howard Thurman, who would grow up to become one of the great preachers of the 20th century and a spiritual advisor to Martin Luther King Jr. As a boy, he discovered a unique relationship with an oak tree in his backyard in Daytona Beach. I could sit my back against its trunk, he recalled, and reach down in the quiet places of my spirit, take out my bruises and my joys, unfold them and talk about them. I could talk aloud to the oak tree and know that I was understood. It too was part of my reality, like the woods, the night, and the pounding surf. They were my earliest companions, giving me space. Today, we need love more than ever. Climate and racial justice advocate Mary Anais Hagler confesses that love is what keeps her going. I don't mean any simple, sappy kind of love, she declares. I mean living, breathing, heart-beating love. Wild love. This love is not a noun. She is an action verb. She can shoot stars into the sky. She can spark a movement. She can sustain a revolution. I love this beautiful, mysterious, complicated planet we get to call home. I love that nighttime symphony on steamy southern nights when the frogs croak and the crickets sing and the owls hunt. I love the delicate feel of honeysuckle petals and the warm, grainy earth and dewy grass on my bare feet. This love is strong enough to break through the terror. She is hot enough to burn through anger and turn into fury. She can shake you out of your despair and propel you to the front of the battlefield. It's a love that can also, even in the teeth of these most insurmountable odds, give me hope. If I'm brave enough to accept it. As for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. But love never ends. I'll let the trees have the last word, with the assistance of their friend and interpreter, the late poet, Mary Oliver. Technically, Unitarian Universalists, we don't have saints. But if we did, I think Mary Oliver would be right up there. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call again. "It's simple," they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. Amen. And blessed be.
Now is the time in our service when we take an offering for the life of this community, to fund the things that we dream and imagine together. I want to let you know that April is a Share the Plate month, and our Share the Plate partner is UU The Vote, a subsidiary of the Side with Love. That's not the right word, but it's part of the Side with Love activism that we do. And as the months get closer to November, you will be hearing a lot more about ways to support UU The Vote by writing postcards, by doing probably door knocking and stuff. We know that Mecklenburg County and North Carolina are pivotal in this upcoming election, and we want to get as many people out there voting as we can. So if you would begin that partnership with UU The Vote by putting a little bit of extra in the plate this morning, that would be wonderful. We are also grateful to our members who pledge their generous financial support and make regular contributions to sustain the work of this community. While the offering is collected, you are invited to come forward and light a candle honoring a milestone, a concern, or a celebration. The offering will now be received. Please join me in a time of contemplation or prayer. I invite you to breathe deeply, to be present to the spirit of life which is in us and through us and around us, to those human connections that give us strength when we struggle and celebrate with us when we are joyful. The gathered community hears and holds both difficulty and ease as we honor the experiences that make each of us who we are. I will begin our concerns of the congregation this morning by lighting the candle of memory and hope in honor of the life of Judy Reynolds, who was a member of this congregation for a very long time. She moved to Hickory and had been attending the congregation there, but maintained her membership here. So we hold her and her family in our hearts during this time of grief. Our love and support also go to Lauren Jebbia Tax at the loss of her grandmother. We hold in our hearts all who have lit candles and all that is held in our hearts. We honor all the complexity and the joys and the sorrows in our lives. I invite you into a moment of silence. Amen, and blessed be.
This prayer is by the Reverend Steve Garnis Holmes. I invite you into the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, Holy One, essence and breath of all that is, take my fear and let it become wonder. Take my grief and let it become compassion. Take my doubt and let it become courage. Take my self-centeredness and let it become love. Take my broken heart and let it become my strength. Amen, and blessed be. In silence, we descend deeper than words, centering down to the ground of being. During the silence, I invite you to pray or to meditate or to contemplate ultimate things.
Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Song written by Guy Carillon, inspired by the spirituality of the Carolina Sea Islands. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Please rise in body and spirit and join me in singing this song. Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? So rocky the road, so rocky the road, so dangerous the journey, so dangerous the journey, but we got it right, but we got it right. Ain't you got it right to the tree of life? Ain't you got it right? 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 Ain't you got it right to the tree of life? We come from a distance. We come from a distance. We come from a distance, and we got it right. And we got it right. Ain't you got it right to the tree of life? Ain't you got it right? 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 Ain't you got it right to the tree of life? Our lives will be sweeter. Our lives will be sweeter. Our lives will be sweeter, 'cause we got it right. Ain't you got it right to the tree of life? Ain't you got it right? 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 Ain't you got it right to the tree of life? Now, before the pandemic, to close this beautiful song out, I'd always invite people to join hands with each other. But you know, there is this pandemic. I don't know if we're post-pandemic or not, but people understandably are more nervous than ever about grabbing the hands of the person next to them. So I will invite you, if you feel comfortable doing it, to join hands with the person next to you. Now, if you are next to somebody and you do not want to join hands with them, please do not do so. Even if they reach out to you with great hand-holding zeal. And how could you say no? Say no, because you are uncomfortable doing so. That is the hypothesis. That is the principle in which I am engaging you in this exercise. On the other hand, if you feel comfortable joining hands with the person next to you, please do so. And we'll sing the chorus together one last time. Ain't you got it right? 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 Ain't you got it right to the tree of life? Ain't you got it right? 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 Ain't you got it right to the tree of life?
Yes. Thank you.
Beautiful. Amen and blessed be.
Our closing words before we extinguish the chalice. Let go of the place that holds. Let go of the place that flinches. Let go of the place that controls. Let go of the place that fears. Listen. The wind is breathing in the trees. moving through the dark night. I practice courage, accepting the vastness of what I cannot see. You may be seated. Oh, wait. There's one more thing. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want the announcement from the search, we can just move on to the. Is there someone from the search team?
Today is a good day. So I'm Ellen Holliday, and I'm one of the co-leads for the search team. My pronouns are she, her.
And I'm Rebecca Visco, co-chair of our Settled Minister search team. My pronouns are also she, her. Our team came together last summer after being recruited by a nominating committee and then elected by the congregation in June. You put your trust in us, and we took that very seriously. We worked with the transitions office at the UUA to learn about the search process and what we needed to do to help us find the best match for our community. This process is super important. Calling a settled minister is one of the most important things a congregation can do as a community. It's a really big deal, and we as a team have carried the importance of finding the best candidate through all of these many months as we've done our work. It's been challenging, inspiring, exhausting, and also deeply, deeply meaningful. You have all been with us the entire time. Last fall, our team listened to and surveyed our community, and we learned that we are committed to working through conflict and healing from the losses of recent years. Our survey and focus groups revealed both a longing for what we've lost and eager anticipation for what we might accomplish together with new leadership. We're ready for intellectual stimulation and spiritual growth. We are open to change and new approaches to ministry. You told us our next minister could succeed by prioritizing shared ministry, being welcoming to all, helping us build community, and sincerely connecting with us as individuals. More than 83% of members also said it was important for our minister to be deeply grounded and educated in Unitarian Universalism. The search team is beyond delighted to say that we have found a candidate with the personal qualities and professional experience required to fulfill your very high expectations of our next settled minister. We can cheer for that.
So we will be happy to answer any of your questions at the table after the service about the process itself. What we can't talk about is how we made decisions. We took a confidentiality that's part of a covenant that all search teams honor. But what we can tell you is that our search team enthusiastically and joyfully supports this candidate. And this candidate we are going to bring to you soon, the end of April, April 28th to May 5th, called Candidating Week. And I think you will enjoy meeting her. There will be sign-ups and currents of lots of events during the Candidating Week that you will be able to have opportunities to meet her and have a great conversation, and she will preach 2 sermons, and then you will take a vote on May 5th. And so we are really looking forward to that week and had the chance for you to get to see the person that the search team thinks is our best candidate.
With that being said, the Settled Minister search team is proud and filled with tremendous joy to introduce our candidate for the UUCC's next settled minister, the Reverend Amanda Weatherspoon. let us tell you a little bit about Reverend Amanda. So she grew up in East Tennessee, about 200 miles from
Hey,
here.
Rebecca, wait. I think the congregation would really rather hear from Amanda herself. Do you agree?
That's a great idea.
Hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Amanda Weatherspoon, and it is a joy and an honor to be your candidate for settled minister. You can read all about me and my journey to and through ministry on the UUCC website. That webpage should be going live soon. And there you will find that I have witnessed the power of our shared faith in action all across this country. I was born and raised right next door in East Tennessee. That's where I became a UU. Then I followed the call all the way over to Berkeley, California to attend seminary at Star King School for the ministry. Several years after the completion of seminary, I came back over here to serve the good people at River Road UU Congregation in Bethesda, Maryland, right outside DC. And now I am so excited to be coming to witness the power of our living tradition with each of you at the UU community of Charlotte. And yes, Unitarian Universalism is a living tradition. It is alive in this world, from our roots and our traditions all the way to our branches and the possibilities of transformation of our communities, transformation of the wider world around us, and of course, transformation of one another in our lives. I so look forward to meeting each and every one of you during candidating week. That starts on Sunday, April 28th. I will be leading a worship service, and I am looking forward to what it feels like to be with you all on a Sunday morning, leading worship together. I'll also lead worship on May 5th, after which you all will vote. And that week in between will be filled with events and opportunities for us to get to know each other, to listen and to learn, to share our hopes, our dreams, and our potential ministry. I so look forward to our time together. I will be there with bells and whistles. I hope you will be there right alongside me. I can't wait to meet you all. Until then.
Thank you for your support and trust in us. An email's going to go out right after the service telling you what you just heard from Amanda, as well as links to her sermons and to her webpage. Questions, if you have that, or if you just have excitement that you want to share with us, we'll be at the table in the fellowship hall.
I just want to take a moment. Y'all, this team worked so hard. They met constantly. They were out in the community. They were researching. And the board just felt so positive, and we trusted them implicitly. I just want to raise them up. If you were on the team and you're here, stand up, and let's give them some applause for the amazing work.